Good day and welcome to my humble stream. My camera is frozen. It became unplugged the second I started streaming, like 3 seconds ago. And so I'm going to fix my camera live on stream here. It'll be very exciting. But anyhow, my name is Guy Royse, and today we're going to be working on the Evercraft Kata. That's an exercise that my buddy George Walters and I put together about a decade ago. And I'm doing it in JavaScript with Jest as a test driver. And yeah. So that's what we're going to be doing. I've got the kata up here if you want to see it, right here. And here's the documentation for Jest. And I've got the code ready to go. But you can't see me. You just see my hair. So let me see if I can fix that really quick. Go to Guy Full. Yeah, there's me saying, oh shit, my camera just fell. Let me see if I can reconnect. There we go. That was easy. Hello. Let's go back to the worktop there. Now, there we go. That's much better. Guy in a hex. Life is better in a hex. That's what I like to tell myself. So, hello. My name is Guy Royse, and welcome to my humble stream. Tonight, we're going to be continuing work on the Evercraft Kata. You can check out the Evercraft Kata here. I was going to put a link to it with Nightbot, but I can't get Nightbot integrated. This is like technical failure night for me, apparently. So, you know, sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're the bug, right? I'm going to go ahead and paste the link in chat if anyone's in there that wants to play around with it. You're welcome to go check it out. Bring it down yourself. The code I'm working on isn't up on GitHub yet or anything. I will fix that at some point. And the idea of the Evercraft Kata was to create something that's sort of like a bigger kata. When TDD was sort of initially introduced to me, the whole idea of TDD, it was sort of introduced like you did all these puny little exercises. You know, you do like bowling score or, FizzBuzz is the classic example to get the rhythm, to learn that rhythm of test-driven development. And, you had FizzBuzz and, prime numbers kata and all these small exercises to teach you the rhythm of test-driven development, but you didn't have anything meaty that resembled the kinds of stuff that you did during your day job. And so I put together the Evercraft Kata to simulate the brains behind 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons. It's sort of based on it loosely. And to make a big exercise, something big that has complex and weird rules, just like my day job did. So that's what the Evercraft Kata is. I will confess that I have never finished the Evercraft Kata. It is big. We are in what we broke these up into what we called iterations at the time. It's probably a bad name, but last time we did this, we got through most of core. We got character has a name, an alignment, armor class, and hit points. They can attack and be damaged, and they have ability scores, which affect how they attack and how they're damaged. And we left off with a feature character can gain experience when attacking. As a character, I want to accumulate experience points when I attack my enemies so that I can earn bragging rights at the tavern. And then, of course, this is going to lead into leveling. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to add some experience points. We're going to get some experience. We're going to level up. So let's see where we're at test-wise. There's Evercraft.js. We have our hero. We have our attack. We have our hero spec. And let's refamiliarize ourselves with the code here. We got an attack. We can resolve that attack and determine if it's a hit or a crit. If it's a crit, then we damage one way. If it's a hit, we damage another. And I think we need to say, does the spec say successfully attack or just when you attack? When I attack my enemies so that I can earn bragging rights at the tavern. So, I think that should be, that should probably be when you successfully attack. No, it should be for every attack because you learn from your mistakes, right? So let's do that. So in the attack spec, I think that would belong in the attack spec. We'll need a way to add experience points to a hero and a way to query it. Let's code that up first. So let's go to hero spec here, and here is the hero's alignment, armor class, hit points, current hit points, there is alive, their attack modifier, their attack damage, their critical damage, and let's do another one here. It says describe experience points. I'm gonna, oh man, I want to call it XP, but I've got this pattern of not abbreviating when I code, but at the same time we use these abbreviations in D&D all the time, so I'm conflicted as to whether I should do that or not. But let's say let's go ahead and call it experience points, and we're going to give it a default. It defaults to 0. You got a big fat goose egg for your hit points when you start out. And so we can say subject expect experience points to be 0. Now that should fail because experience points is going to be undefined. And yeah, and instead and we're expecting 0. So in our hero, let's add strength, XCon, armor class, alignment. Oh, where do we want to add this? We'll put it down under doesn't really matter. Get experience points. That should change our error. Actually, it won't, because now we're calling it, but we're still getting undefined. So let's return 0. Now it passes. Easy peasy. So we need to be able to add experience to the character. So going back to the hero spec, we can say it goes up when experience is added. Seems reasonable. And so we'll say subject dot add experience. Oh, hey, Jitter Ted, thank you for the raid. Thank you very, very much. Always greatly appreciated. Actually, it reminds me I need to turn my volume up here. You can probably hear me touching my microphone as I turn the volume up. So, nice big old raid. I had 3, and now there will be 13 more, so we'll be up to a big whopping 16 viewers, hopefully. For those of you just joining, I am test driving the Evercraft Kata, Dungeons & Dragons, putting the D&D and TDD, as the workshop is called. I'm having fun with it so far. I'm not very far into it. I mean, for tonight, I'm fairly far into the kata, but I am just getting ready to add experience points. So, yeah, thanks for the raid. Much appreciated. Much obliged. So we are adding experience points to heroes right now. Oh yeah, that's perfect timing. It's the same kind of stuff. Hey, are you doing that? And I'm looking at the wrong screen here. I need to look at the screen. Are you looking at? Are you doing that with that Java language? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I talk really well. So are you doing that in Java? I'm assuming. I've done the Evercraft Kata several times in Java myself. That Java language, yeah. I'm doing it in that other JavaScript language. So because Java is to JavaScript as car is to carpet. Java's a fun language. It's actually the one I originally did the Evercraft Kata in. When I first put this together, I did it in Java. Yeah. So, I like doing in Java. I like doing I don't know what its official name. I call it the poker kata, where you write basically a poker hand comparator. It's just, for some reason that's enjoyable to do in Java. Probably because it's strongly typed and so that lends itself to the idea of suits and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I appreciate the raid. I've actually done the Yahtzee kata as well in JavaScript. It's interesting because you end up creating a bunch of templated functions for the 1s and the 2s and the 3s and stuff like that. I haven't tried it in Java. That would be interesting. So, but anyhow, on with the codigating. Here we got experience that defaults to 0. When we add experience, we expect, of course, the number to go up. So let's add 50 experience, and then we can expect the experience to be 50. And that fails because add experience doesn't exist. And so we'll add a add experience function. And we will spell experience right. And then I'm going to cheat and say, and ignore the argument and just add 50. I don't know. That's kind of twinkish. Let's return this underscore XP. No. This underscore XP. Yeah, that's what I want. Return. No. Come on, brain. You need to work. You need to work. I'm going to create a variable called this underscore XP and set that equal to 50. So that I'm going to do the twinkish thing. And then this is going to return this underscore XP. And then up here in the constructor, we will say this underscore XP equals 0. And that still fails. Oh, because that's not returned. Got to return the thing, guy. Got to return the thing. There we go. Now they pass. Excellent. So I'm taking the little baby micro steps because I am. It's sort of a good demonstration. I mean, I don't think I would write production code like this. But you stop and you take those little micro TDD steps and do the sort of the minimum, the absolute minimum that you can do when you to make a test pass. And it's a lot of fun when you're pairing with George Walters and you make him do your job for you, like combative pair programming. So we'll add 50 and then we'll add 100. And so now we'll add stuff twice. And so now we expect this to be 200. And then that'll fail because 200 is not 50. Yeah, they sometimes do, don't they? That's a good point, Jitter Ted. And I should be more disciplined. It's just there's certain patterns that you learn that are exposed with the little tiny steps, like the ridiculously small ones, like I'm doing here, where I've been through this pattern enough times that I know where I know where all the doors and corners are that I need to check. Right. Sorry, I had to use an Expanse reference. So we want to add experience, and we'll say that this is an amount. And we'll do that, and that's more of what we want. Cool. So experience is going up. Yeah, I think that's a good exercise. Like I said, I'm doing it here because there's always you think you've got it down, but then there's that arrogance of I think I've got it down, and then there's some subtle pattern that you haven't realized yet. But I know when I'm writing code for, during the day, sometimes lots of little tiny steps are noisy, and they actually kind of slow you down a little bit. And so it's like climbing stairs, just like take them two at a time and get up them faster. And that sounds like a bad metaphor. Like you could, if you extend that idea further, it breaks. Right? If you say, well, no, let's just take some, bigger steps here. When you do it at scale, that's a bad idea. If it's really like one line of code-ish kind of stuff, I've found that's relatively safe. And so it's a trade-off, right? It's like, well, let's just take a bunch of steps and we'll just, tear down the entire agile process that our team's working because, we don't need these intermediate steps of writing tests. Let's just write the code, right? Yes, exactly. Yeah. You can always go back to taking steps one at a time. So we have not really added much here yet. We've added experience. So that's a good thing. And we need to see that now when a hero attacks, that their experience goes up. So we can now add experience, but we need to change the attack. So let's look at our attack spec here. And this is just these are just testing hit scenarios. Defender hit. When attacker is beefy, in other words, they're strong. They hit more easily, they miss less easily, do more damage, and does even more damage on a crit. So when a roll is less than the armor class, okay. We need a test here. I'm not sure what to call it yet, so I'm going to give it a crappy name. Describe. Yeah, exactly. Simon Gearing experiences knowing the rules well enough to know if it's safe to break them. Well, and actually more to the point, not necessarily whether it's safe or not, whether knowing the risk in breaking them. That's probably a better way to state that, right? I actually kind of... I'm going to be pedantic here a little bit, but I guess that's kind of why I'm here. I don't like the word safe. Because at a certain level, nothing is safe, right? Is it safe to break these rules? Well, what's the risk of breaking these rules? It's small. Okay, we can do that. Yeah, exactly. Prepared to accept the consequences if it goes pear-shaped, right? Wow, it's again with the Expanse references. That's two quotes from the Expanse already. Maybe I need to go rewatch that and re-listen to the books. So, when's the next? Are any of you Expanse fans? When's the next book coming out? Pop Rocks. I was constantly fighting against too many tests. I think 80% of tests that are written are not only worthless, but are a hindrance to fixing bad design. Are you talking about testing before or testing after? Because I think that matters. I've seen a lot of really poorly thought out tests that validate that the code does what it already did. So in other words, it says, and then the code executes this line, and then the code executes this line. And so you get this ugly mirror where the code is just this ugly reflection. The test is just this ugly reflection of the code. And there's others that are just describing all the behaviors. And I think those kinds of tests are the kinds that they're what I strive to write. Describe all the behaviors of a system. And then hierarchize them so you don't get too many permutations. What's The Expanse? The Expanse is a series of science fiction novels, and there's a series they've made out of they're moving through on Amazon, and it's oh my god, it's some of the best written science fiction I've seen in probably ever. I mean, it's really well written. The characters are interesting. They're mature, which is something you don't usually see in a lot of character development. There's an easy way to add drama is you take poor communication, mix in emotional immaturity, boom, instant drama. They create drama in the show without doing that, at least for the good guys. I mean, it's not like they're immature characters, but they don't stoop to that trick, and so it's just so well written, and just listening to it, you can tell that the people have read the classics, the authors. But at the same time, they're fully immersed in pop culture. It's when you got two ships, one's named Gozerian, which is a Ghostbusters reference, and the other is named Witch of Endor, which is from the Old Testament. You know, they're drawing from a wide array of sources, and it's really cool. So, some terrible tests with mocks. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Pop Rocks, the mocks where you have you've coded the implementation into the test, and so you've locked the code into place, which is you lose one of those key benefits of having tests, which is that refactoring with impunity, right? And so yeah, I've seen that many times, and it's horrific. I mean, I'm ashamed to admit that I've done that myself early in my testing career. So. Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. Yeah, so Jitter Ted, in today's stream, you all were changing behavior, and I was happy that only the two tests related to that behavior failed. That's good. I knew it was sometime this year for the next Expanse novel. Yeah, the book's by James S. A. Corey. It's actually two people under a pen name. So good, so good. Yeah. Oh yeah, Jitter Ted just said what I said. Yeah, it's. I've listened to it a couple times. Like every single time the new book comes out or is about to come out, I reread through the entire listen through the entire series again. Of course, I'm not traveling as much as I was. I did a lot of that on airplanes, so it might be a little slower this time. So, guys, about to make a really crappily named test. What was it going to be? Describe when attacking, or it's increases. Describe. Attacking. We'll say when attacking. Attacker gains experience. Yeah, so we'll say when attacking. That's our outer block here. Is it then? I think I can do then as well. Then attacker gains experience. It's test. Attacker gains gains 10 experience, right? Experience. Did I spell that wrong? Nope. He says no as he proceeds to spell it wrong, probably. And need a parenthesis there. And so we'll go ahead and we'll say attacker actually I think I want to put it up here. I think this is a good scenario. So when a roll's less than armor class, when a roll hits, so all these things, right? In all those scenarios, we want this to be true. So it's part of the permutations of attacking. So it feels good up here, and I think it reads better, right? So while we're attacking, it either hits or misses, it damages or doesn't damage the defender, and it gives the attacker 10 XP. So we can say expect attacker. Is it attacker? Yeah. Dot experience to be 10. And that fails because the attacker's experience points are 0, because the attack object or the attack class doesn't do anything when an attack is made. So I think this is just a matter of saying attacker dot add experience 10. This dot attacker. There we go. This dot underscore attacker. I'll get the variable right here eventually. That passes. Okay, so that works. This method here is getting a little long, and I'm kind of wanting to refactor it a little bit. The other thing that's happening here is the hero class is getting kind of long. It's not terrible yet, but it's getting kind of it's getting kind of longish. I may have to think about that a bit. Right now, I don't think there's much to do for it. I mean, I could tighten some of these up and do things like this. Oh, look, it's not as many lines now, but that's not really, that's a spirit of that's a letter of the law, not a spirit of the law sort of thing. Although actually, that one does look a little better that way. Yeah, it's all the getters and setters. That's exactly what it is, and that's why I'm kind of tolerating it. Actually, I am going to do this. Right now, this is not terrible. If these become any longer, it will be. We'll put the damage function down here. What did I do? There we go. I went a little too far. Because these are basically one-line formulas, and they're working okay as one-line formulas, and it lets me see more code at once. So I think that's a good thing. It is still kind of a letter of the law versus spirit of the law thing. All right, I'm violating the spirit of the law, but sticking to the letter of the law. But I think it looks nicer. Especially these getters here. Get and set name, maybe not so much. Let's tidy these up though. Like this obviously can't be inlined, right? There's our constructor, that's fine. There's the name. We can get the alignment. Got our abilities. Armor class, hit points is alive. Attack modifier. Yeah, this looks okay. It's a little better. I'm a little happier about it. I want to leave these as these are functions, not getters, and so they feel like they shouldn't be inlined like that. So I'm going to leave those be. But let's look at the attack here. So I think this needs to be broken up into some functions a little bit here, maybe, because it's got sort of like this is sort of orthogonal. Conceptually, they happen at the same time, but this is add experience. This is resolve attack. This is they feel like they're at the same level of abstraction, but they're not related to each other. And so let's poke around with this a little bit and see what we get. Let's do a is hit. We'll create an is hit function, and that's going to take the role. And then we can basically just do this. And then we can say is hit, pass in the role. And we can say is crit. Say is critical. And that's going to be this. And this is putting them at again at that same level of abstraction. And I mean, my goal is to make this the resolve function to read like a to-do list, and have all the things that it's doing at that same level of abstraction. And so this reads like that. You're saying, is it a hit? Is it a crit? This dot is hit. This dot is crit. Is critical. There we go. I must have had a typo that I couldn't see. And then that allows me to, I actually could just inline these, right? Calling it twice is a little inefficient, but let's go ahead and just let's do an add experience or apply experience. That feels like a better name. And then that'll be this dot apply experience. Not apply. That means something different in JavaScript. And then I guess apply damage. And we'll do crit. Is it a hit? Is it a crit? We'll just pass both of those in. I could call these little helper functions to do that, but then we're computing that more than once, and I kind of don't want to do that. So here we can say if it's a crit, then damage the defender, else if it's a hit, damage the defender a little bit less. And then we can say this dot apply damage, hit, crit. And that should pass. It does. Now I can rearrange the order here a little bit. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. I think that's a little nicer. So now the attack is resolved by saying, is it a hit or is it a crit? Applying the damage and passing in those results, applying experience, and then returning the result of whether it's a hit or not. And these are all in more or less the order we want. Put them in the order they're called. There we go. So I think that reads a little bit better. I think if I came into this, it would be a little easier for me to understand what resolve is doing without having to necessarily know all the details of the rules. Cool. I'm happy with that. That makes me think maybe I should commit. I almost want to do a ternary here, but it's a bad idea. I'm gonna bring up another terminal here so I can commit. Adds experience when attacking refactored. There we go. I guess I did put this out on GitHub. I couldn't remember. Okay. Give me a second here to take a drink. So let's look at the spec. What do we got here next? So gain experience when attacking. Check. Does that. A character can level. As a character, I want my experience points to increase my level and combat capabilities so that I can bring vengeance to my foes. Level defaults to 1. Every 1,000 experience points, your level goes up. For each level, stuff happens. Let's do the easy one first. And we'll look at the hero. And they've got a name and alignment. There's their critical damage. Here's the experience points. And we'll say describe level. And we'll just go ahead and clone one of these again here. It defaults to 1. And so we'll just say expect the level to be 1. So that's a good first test. Very easy. Go into the hero. Well, let's see if it's still... Go to the right terminal here so I can see the test running. Fails for the right reason. Go to the hero. Add name, alignment, abilities. I feel like level goes up here. Like if you have a character sheet, you know, what order do you put put all this stuff in, right? Like in the D&D character sheet, it's like, well, I'm playing a 5th level Evil Dwarven Paladin, right? Because that combination exists. And so those are like the first, you know, name, alignment, level, class, race. Those are all like at the top. And then you've got your ability scores, and then you get your armor class and all the things that are computed from it. So I think that's kind of what I've done here. Although honestly, experience points tends to be up near level. Because at the top of the character sheet. So we'll move that up there so it's more D&D-esque. Sounds good for me. So, okay, level defaults to 1. It goes up when experience is added. And I think this might be a good example of using, if we look in the attack spec here, the stuff Mark Miller has done for his D&D gaming group. Mark Miller is What's his? I think I have. But what is he? He got the dyed goatee. Is that guy? I don't know him really well. um, yeah, Code Rush. Yeah, yeah. I've watched a couple of his streams. Yeah, he's using. It looks like he's using Foundry Virtual Tabletop, which is the same thing I'm using for the D&D game I'm going to be running. But I haven't cracked the API yet. But yeah, I've heard he does some really crazy stuff with the experience, like portal dice and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I want to get into doing some of that. I may code some stuff like that on stream as well, but not today. I'm just trying to get my way around my virtual tabletop already. So we've got this describe each pattern here that's available in this. Come on, brain, work. My brain just like froze on me again. It's sort of like theories in C#. So I think this is a good time for that because as the level goes up, I think we have several scenarios here that are basically going to assert the same thing, right? So let's. There is. And we're going to say XP of 0, level of 1. And then I'm going to just delete those for now. And then it defaults. Yeah, so then there's our test description, %s. It has expected level. So in here we can then say subject.add experience data.xp. Expect it to be data.level. Still passes. Good sign. So now I can go in and just add some more scenarios here. So when there is some experience, so when we say we have 500 experience points, still level 1. When we have 99 experience points, testing the edge cases here, oops, still level 1. When we have 1,000 experience points, we expect it to flip over. And so this one should fail. Well, if I do it correctly. Okay, good. And I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more edge cases. We'll do 1,500. And we'll do 2,000. And let's do 5,000. So this would be second level. This would still be second level. This would be just enough to get to third. This would be level 6. Okay. Going to comment those out because I got ahead of myself. I want to make just this one here pass. I'm going to take those baby steps again, like I was saying earlier. And so level is going to be this experience points greater than or equal to 1,000. Then it's 2, otherwise it's 1. So I'm going to solve it with an if statement. I really haven't. I didn't put any requirements around Simon Gearing around max levels, so that's not a thing that I did in 3rd edition. That really wasn't there. You had the epic level handbook, and you just keep adding levels. I remember in the original D&D 1st edition and 2nd edition, there was a module for 100th level adventurers, and so you could actually play ridiculously epically badass characters. Obviously, no one had actually grinded their characters up to level 100. They just made some. But I remember that was quite fun. But yeah, I didn't actually put in a requirement to have a max level, and I don't think I want one. I mean, we could put it in there. I know 5th edition caps it off at 20, and then you just start getting epic boons. But it'd just be one more requirement. Wouldn't be hard to do. So that passes badly, but it passes. That'll still pass. Let's do that one. And so this is going to force me to add some calculations. I'm going to go ahead and do that too. And get rid of the comma there. And so then instead of doing this, I can say experience points modulus 1000. Or no, not modulus. Divide by 1000. This is going to be math dot floor, because I want this to be integer math, and then that should be +1, because divided by 1000, round down, 999 is going to give us 0, so it needs to be one more. Cool. It is now computing level. So level defaults to 1, level goes up. For each level, hit points increase by 5 plus the con modifier, and 1 is added to the attack roll for every other level achieved. Okay. So go back to the hero spec. Let's look at I just got distracted here. I was looking at line 179 here and thinking there might be a better way to do this. Can you do an it each? Is that valid? Yeah, that's valid. So I want to do this instead. Describe level, because that's what we're really doing here. So, Simon, you're saying you once wrote a VB6 is that conversion or conversation of the Advanced Hero Quest and .NET version of Warhammer Quest. I didn't read the whole sentence before I started talking, so I wasn't 100% sure. I didn't mean to call out your typo. That's an easy one to make, let's be honest. Never finished either of them, since it turns out writing an RPG is a lot of work. Who would have thunk it? Yeah, that's really true. It's why I actually made this exercise in the first place, is because there's two reasons, right? One is that it's got all kinds of funky edge cases and special rules, just like our day jobs, right? Yeah. Thanks, autocorrect. Yeah. But so one reason is it's got all these interesting edge corners and cases. Like later on in the exercise, there's I'm going to show it to you here, and we certainly won't be getting here tonight. There is we can play different races, and you got armor. So like here is the an elven longsword. It does 5 points of damage. It's +1 to attack and damage, +2 to attack and damage when wielded by an elf or against an orc, +5 to attack and damage when wielded by an elf and against an orc. Right? That's a fun rule to write, right? And so all these interesting cases. But yeah, it's a hard problem. So that's one reason I put them in there. Lots of edge cases. But the other reason I decided to do this is because you did what you did, right? You went out and said, I'm going to create this, this game off this stuff that I really like, right? There's that urge that many of us have to write games as part of using these tools that we've had to automate the things that we enjoy. And we've all had sort of that fantasy of creating Dungeons and Dragons and creating, I've dreamed about creating the software that is virtual tabletops for, decades. And so it scratches that itch, right? It scratches at it. And so it was, and then it's a good way to learn too. So it's sort of full of win, right? And so, yeah, it's exactly where you're at. Have I ever looked at the source code of NetHack? No, I have not. Maybe I should. I'm assuming it's written in C, right? You're saying on Coding Garden stream last night, Simon Gearing, how nice the JS test framework is for this, and how nice it would be in C Sharp. Yeah, I haven't done enough C Sharp in the last 10 years to have a good comparison point there, but I think some of the things I saw, I was watching Brendonius on Dev Chatter do my kata on Saturday, and some of the things he was doing was actually pretty powerful. So, I was actually impressed. There's a lot of corners to C Sharp that I just haven't gotten down yet to either. And having to have the full game without having to buy all the models. Yeah, there's that urge too, isn't it? Right? It's like, I'm just going to write this game myself because that would be cheaper. And it's like, I've spent 1,000 hours and saved $50. Pomp Rocks. You said some developers might say it's a terrible design, but it does a good job of managing in a lot of complex interactions. Are we JavaScript or C Sharp? I've got 2 threads going here, and so I'm losing track already. I've got a mind like a steel trap, or a sieve, a steel sieve. That's it. So anyhow, let's take a look at the code here. So describe level, and then say it has expected. Yeah. I think I'm going to do this. Like that. And then let's just get rid of these things altogether. There we go. It's all in C, yeah. Yeah, RPGs make great coding projects. The rules are already written, and they're generally a lot more consistent than the requirements I've ever gotten from any requirements engineer. So there's that too, right? And there we go. There we go. I think I like that a little bit better. And these don't need. This doesn't really. Why is this an array now? Oh yeah, because each array, the array of arrays, the values in this array go into here. I think I can. If I do this, what will it do? It will blow up. That's what it'll do. That's good enough. Okay, so we were in the process of doing some level-based things, getting our hit points to go up with increased con, get hitting points to go down with decreased con. And so we need to test that our hit points here defaults to 5, goes up when the hero is buff, goes down when the hero is sickly. That's still true. Cannot go, not goes, below 0 because of constitution. Doesn't go down when damaged. That's your total hit points, your max hit points, your potential hit points. Yeah, board game systems. I thought about board games when we did this. We were thinking like maybe code up Monopoly. A lot of games rely on the human rules parser that's up in here. And so they can just state the rules in English and we can figure it out and maybe argue about it, but figure it out. But trying to codify those things, But like look at a game like Magic the Gathering, right? It's one of those games that has lots of rules on the cards. That when you got that many rules on the cards, you have to basically code every card. You can't create data to have the pieces, and so it's an interesting problem. So hit points, defaults 5 goes up on the buff. It goes up when the hero levels. Not function. We're not in Mocha. And we say subject dot add experience. We'll just add 1,000 experience. Now I've got some magic numbers I need to work with here. It's level 2 when the hero gains a level. That's a better way to put it. And we've actually got an interesting problem here because we probably should test the gains a level and their constitution goes up. Gains a level and their constitution goes down. Yeah, exactly. To avoid coding 200 case statements. That's exactly true, Simon Gearing. That's the difference. And I think that was actually the problem with 4th edition. It could have been coded. We expect this to be 10 now. So what we got here is we've got hit points, and hit points is going up at the intersection of 2 values, right? You basically have a matrix of hashtag, right? Of the Constitution score going up and down, so your Constitution modifier going up and down, and you have your level going up and down. And so I probably need to do a bunch of scenarios where it hits all these cases. And so I may refactor this test to be like that, but for now I'm going to do this here and just do the level and see what happens. So where is hit points? So hit points is math.max 5 plus this .constitution modifier times this .level. I think that actually just makes it work. Pop rocks. The 200 case statement path. Yeah. That's a thing, I guess. That's one way to live your life. So that passes, and I think that's going to pass for everything, but I'm not happy with the amount of testing I have here. And so since it passes, I think this is a good time to refactor my tests. So we're going to describe hit points, and we're going to use we're going to create some scenarios here, just like we did with level. So let's collapse experience points here, and we're going to do the .each pattern here. And I'll say hit points, each, and then I am gonna put a test name here. We can say defaults to 5, and then at 0 experience points, we don't care about level. And then we're going to say the con is 10, and the expected value, the hit points, is 5. So that's our first scenario. And then so this becomes the first argument. I'll just give that underscore like that. Am I using object builders, or is that more than works in JavaScript? I'm not using object builders. I mean, you can do the builder pattern in JavaScript. I mean, it's got classes. You can mimic all the things you would do in C# or JavaScript in that regard. It's one of those things that actually is sort of confounds me a little bit with JavaScript. When they added the class things, the class type, the class capability, that's probably the best word. All of a sudden, I started writing my JavaScript like it was Java and C#. And whereas JavaScript's really kind of its own thing, and it's got its own stuff going on, and there's a lot of scenarios that you just can't do with other languages in JavaScript that are cool. that you can do in JavaScript that are cool, that you then skip over because you're just mimicking class and objects and instances and that sort of pattern. So this then turns into expect subject.hitPoints to be data.hp. Exactly. When you wanted classes for a long time, when you got them, you're like, I don't want these anymore. I actually kind of like the old way of doing JavaScript code better. I kind of like that more. It's kind of like I remember when Java came out, I was a little disappointed that I wouldn't have to manage memory in C++ anymore because I'd be doing Java all the time. But it's kind of the same way for me with JavaScript. I kind of like sometimes the old ways are better, right? Yeah, just do it in Blazor. Yeah. Simon Gearing, you've mostly done TypeScript and Angular. Yeah, exactly, right. TypeScript just takes it a step further. I haven't done any TypeScript. I mean, I can look at it and figure out what it does. It's not rocket science. But I actually kind of like the looseness of JavaScript the way it is. So, and here I need to set the subject dot add experience data.xp and subject dot constitution dot score equals data.con. So this will put the data in that we want. Now these are the default values, so it all works. And so that eliminates the need for this test. And then we can say it goes up when the hero is buff. Need a comma. And then, so this is Kana 14. You left the job because they wanted to switch to Blazor? Yeah, JS dev, not a C# dev. Yeah. That's a good reason. Not going to do the things that I want to do. I think, I don't know if I totally agree with that for Blazor. I think Blazor's interesting, but I think the underlying technology is more interesting. WebAssembly is something I get really excited about. And so that underlying technology is really cool. And so I like getting to the low-level stuff that's in WebAssembly. I may do that for a stream sometime. I'd be interested in seeing me live code in WebAssembly text format, doing this kind of stuff. Maybe not the Evercraft Kata. That might be a bit brazen, but... Yeah, you can really just name foo.ts to foo.js to foo.ts and it'll work. So Fantasy Console for WASM. What are you writing it in a higher level language, Pop Rocks, or are you doing it at the lowest level? Are you using like Rust or C or something like that? Yeah, Simon, you're right about Blazor. It is going to be big for that reason. So hero is buff, goes down when the hero is sickly. So I gave armor class or 6. Everything's still passy. Yeah. You can pick the language you want. I was just curious which one you were using, Pomp Rocks. Which language you were playing with WASM with? Have you looked at is it WASM time yet? It adds And there's WAST and WASI. WAST creates standard types so that you can interrupt between different languages and do WebAssembly, and WASI is the systems level interface, so you can do standard out and network I/O and stuff like that. So it's kind of like Node for WebAssembly. It's pretty cool stuff. I actually need to get a talk together on that stuff. I'm going to be presenting on that at Code Motion. Well, it's online this year, but it was going to be in Amsterdam. So I need to get some stuff put together for this. Looks like yeah, cool. Well, at some point, maybe after I get this done, I'll do some WebAssembly stuff. I think that would be fun. I don't know that I want to do the Evercraft Kata in WebAssembly, unless I'm doing it in Rust, I guess. But I don't know Rust that well. It goes down when the hero is sickly. Cannot go below 0 because of Constitution. I'm gonna come up with a better way to do this. This is kind of tedious. So this is, come on, I'll get it there. XP:0, con of 1, and HP of 1. That's what we expect in that scenario. Are you saying, Simon, that Blazor is Silverlight ++? Are we going to get a chat fight? That'd be great. Okay. This one needs to stay away the way it is, I think. So it doesn't belong in this it loop. So when we gain a level, so now we have all these permutations of defaults to 5, goes up when the hero is buffed. So this is level 0. These are all level 0. And now we need the level 1 versions of these tests. Sort of the level 2 equivalents, I should say. Did you say apple and open in the same word? Funny, funny, funny. Okay, this is the default to 5. It goes up with levels. I think I'm gonna go up to 2,000. So I'm gonna take it up to level 3, and so that should be 15 hit points. Goes up with levels and buffitude. Not a word. It is now. So this should be 21. Goes down. Still goes up with levels, even if sickly. So that would be 9. And has at least 1 HP per level. So now that one doesn't work. Okay, that probably is incorrect. Oh, hello. Hey, Game Pooper. How's it going? Always good to see you. So this one, I think my implementation did not make work. Although I would think it would, right? I did a math.max here. Times this dot level. Why isn't that working? Is my test wrong? Let me look at my test, make sure that I'm not... There's the problem. My test was wrong. My code was right. Yay! This is a nice way to kind of do the matrix thing, right? I mean, I've got this intersection of levels, and I'm gesturing. I don't know how to ever do it. You get this sort of two-dimensional, all the permutations of those two variables, and so this sort of scenario-driven tests kind of help you hit all those permutations. I like it. Lying down in bed. Yeah, it's probably kind of late, isn't it? I'm doing all right. Had nice sausages for dinner. That was nice. It's always good to have. It was like cheese and onion sausage. I don't know what the meat was. Probably pork, but it could have been chicken. My wife likes to buy chicken sausages. But yeah, had a good day. Big salad for lunch. What makes my day good? The food that I eat. All right. So where I think this part, this piece is done. Hit points increased by 5 plus con modifier for each level, and 1 is added to attack roll for every even level achieved. So I'm going to commit right here because I feel like I'm at a point where I have done enough. I don't want to lose it. So let's do that. Get status, and we just did. This is just increasing the con, right? Let's do a quick diff here. Yeah. So get add dot get commit dash m con increasing or more hit points as you level. There we go. Push that up to GitHub. Oh yeah, you're in the UK, Simon. Yeah. It's 1 a.m. for you, isn't it? Staying up too late. Isn't it a school night? Yeah. Yeah, in Korea it's 9 a.m. So it's just wake it up, right? And I've scheduled my Monday evening streams for me so that it's basically 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So then when I'm done, I get a snack, take my meds, go to bed. You know. Keeping I call them my life extension drugs. Actually, I take blood pressure medicine because I have high blood pressure. Oh yeah, I guess that's true. COVID-19 has been a serious pain. I've left the house like at most once a week at this point, but yeah, I call my meds my life extension drugs because I take blood pressure medicine, and I'm sure that if I wasn't taking them, I would have had a stroke by now. But hey, I take the meds, and it lets me live longer. It's a great thing, and it turns out I like being alive. It's preferable. So I keep taking my blood pressure medicine every day. Okay, as I just sort of yammer on and prattle about. Oh wow, that's Simon. That's since March. But there's grounds around. I mean, you've been outside, right? It's just you haven't gone any further than that, right? Like there's a garden or something in the apartment block that you're in. I'm hoping. God, I hope so. I hope you haven't been literally inside for 4 months. So I went out last week because I had a clogged up sewer drain, and so I had to go rent some equipment and snake a sanitary sewer. Which, let me tell you, that's a crappy job, right? Yeah. Favorite quote by Mark Twain. I do not fear death. I have been dead for billions and billions of years before I was born, and had not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it. Okay, good. You're getting outside at least. Actually, my favorite Mark Twain quote is, history doesn't rhyme, but it often repeats. Or I said that backwards. God, I ruined it. I'm the worst. I'm literally the worst. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So, he's got a lot of quotes. He's a very 20th century person. He's got sort of that late 20th century cynicism wrapped up in a 19th century world. He's an interesting character. So, okay. Attack modifier. It goes up every even level. So let's collapse hit points here. Let's collapse current hit points. Let's collapse is alive. Attack modifier defaults to 0. Goes up when the hero is beefy. Goes down when the hero is wimpy. And I think we're gonna have a similar thing here, where now we have two things that are intersecting it: the levels and the your ability scores. But we'll go ahead and write one of them first. Actually, yeah, let's refactor this test to use that pattern I was using before. We'll make this look a lot like hit points. Do the same pattern here. And then we'll collapse that down. I should still pass, actually. I should have my tests up so I can see them passing. I've only watched a few of the Discworld movies. I haven't read any of the books. I thought about getting into it, but the problem is that it's just so vast that it's frankly kind of intimidating. So we need XP for level. We need strength for the attack modifier. And we'll call this AM for attack modifier. Now, we'll use the full word there. And we can get rid of all these. Actually, let's not. Let's just... Let's just take advantage of the fact that these are nicely duplicated. There we go. And we can say it defaults to 0. Be our first test. It goes up when the hero is beefy. Beefy. Goes down when the hero is wimpy. It's on my list of books I want to read. I mean, like I said, I've seen a couple of the movies, but I'm sure they don't do them justice. The movies are never as good as the books, right? That's just how the world works. I'm going to comment those out. And now we're just going to make sure that these three scenarios pass. And so we'll say subject dot add experience data dot XP. So let's level up the character. Let's subject dot strength dot score equals data dot stir. So we'll and then put the expectation in there. There we go. Make sure those are all still passing. One of them fails. 3 of them fail. Oh, I didn't change the attack modifiers. My test is wrong, 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 wrong. And that'd be -2. Style changed over time and the pacing. Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that I kind of would want to listen to them in the order that they were written for those books, and I'm not sure how. I went to Audible because I use Audible, and I couldn't get the first book, and so it's like. And I think the reason is because the audio quality on the first book is just atrocious. But still, it's one of those things where I'm just like, I want to, you want to start at the beginning and just work through them in the order they were written. So it's sort of like you watch the Star Wars movies in the order that they were written, not in the order that they are laid out, not in the order of the story, because the story, there's the things that happened in the world as Star Wars was happening. Sort of influence the story in ways that won't make sense, unless you've seen them in the order they were created. And so that's kind of what I want to do with Star Wars, or with Discworld. And that's not super practical, so I keep putting it off. Okay, so here it goes up with levels. So we'll make them a 3rd level, give them a strength of 10. No. Yeah, strength the same. We expect the attack modifier to be at 2nd level. We expect it to be +1. And then at 3rd level, we're going to expect it, or we expect it to be +1. And then at 4th level, we expect it to be +2. So let's look at the hero first. Let's get this one test passing, and we'll do all 3 of those scenarios. So attack modifier is just the strength modifier, and then plus this dot level -1 would do it, I think. That would do it. That's really ugly. We're not going to keep it. Goes up with on even levels. It does not go with odd levels. Okay. And so we'll see this dot level divided by 2. And that'll give us 0.5 and then 1. So that should be math.floor. There we go. Yeah. Actually, Lord of the Rings is another one where reading The Hobbit first makes Lord of the Rings make more sense. Another example of that. Actually, that's a bad example because those are in chronological order. But then I guess when you read like the Silmarillion and those sorts of books, they, having read the Lord of the Rings, they make more sense. I'm going to stick with the Star Wars example. It's a better one. So that's passing. I feel like I think this is enough test. This is testing level 1, level 2, and level 3. I could test level 4, but I don't know what I would call it. And I know it would pass. Right? So if we do a level 4. It goes up more on higher even levels. We'll go ahead and do level 4, and make that a +2. And that should still pass, and it does. That's unsurprising. And then let's do these scenarios here. It goes up with levels and beefiness. We'll do beefitude as well. Beefitude's a good word. And we'll go with level 4 character. Give them +2, and then the +2 the strength. This should be a +4, and it is. And goes up with levels and down with wimpiness. So that should be a +2. The strength needs to be a 6 there. Oh no, that should be a 0. Because it's +2 for the level, -2 for the strength. Yeah, that's right. There we go. So now we've got now we're testing all those permutations. Yeah. So Simon, get all this data increased per level, and you put it in DB, but then it's all set to fixed values for game balance, and it's really just part of the code. It's part of the rules. It's part of the logic. And so putting it in the database is kind of akin to putting it in a constant. A constant wouldn't be a bad option. And it just makes it more efficient not to less network is less network. Less file I/O is less file I/O. So I think this piece is working here. This is the attack modifier. So I am done with iteration 1. I'm going to look at this really quick and see if there's... I know I've been using a lot of magic numbers. And so I kind of want to get rid of some of those, both in my tests and in my my code. So let's take a look at... Let's look at hero. Let's look at my code first. I think that'd probably be better. Because we got like 5 is how many hit points you expect to have. 10 is your base armor class. But then I know there's some... let's see, did we have any magic numbers here? This is the amount of experience per level. Yeah. So let's go ahead and throw a constant here. Experience per attack equals 10. That feels a little bit better. And then critical roll equals 20. So if it's a 20, it's a crit. Just getting these magic numbers out of here. Yeah, it is funny how wired we are to. Well, it's it's just years of working that way, right? Wired to get us to databases, and so our first thought is let's put the data in a database. Well, that's where you put data, right? And well, it's sort of like you're looking to templatize it. It's almost like there's 3 tiers. Like so, you've got like your class, which is sort of a template for how you create instances, and you got instances, which is it's behavior, and then you get data that pushes into that instance so that changes its behavior, and so we tend to put that data in a database, and sometimes that templatization doesn't work. Like when there's lots of exceptions, you end up with the 500 case statements like you have in NetHack, where they're trying to make something data-driven that really is just a rule that needs to be code-driven. It's like there's like an art to figuring out, is this part of the template, is this part of the instance, or is this part of the data, right? And we call that data configuration sometimes, but configuration is just another kind of data. I remember working on the system one time where they had all the abbreviations defined in a database as well. It's like, well, you got all the the 2-letter abbreviation codes for states in the United States. You could put that in a database, but they're not going to change anytime soon. And even for the things like, let's say Puerto Rico became a state, it's already got a 2-character abbreviation because mail goes there, right? And so it's still in the system already anyhow. So, the odds of something changing to cause that to need to change is so low. And it's faster to leave them in memory in the application that is to shove them off into a database. But they had all the state abbreviations in the database in case you wanted to change them, I guess. So in the attack here, I've changed that. Let's look at the attack spec. I'm looking here and thinking, well, there's that magic number there. But then if I take the magic number from a constant out of the code, then this becomes self-fulfilling and it doesn't test anything. So I'm not going to replace the magic numbers here. But we'll at least do that in our source code. Okay, so we got const experience, call it XP per level. And actually, that makes me want to say this should be XP. There we go. I don't know why that feels better, but the property on it doesn't. It's probably because of the interface versus, like here on Hero, right? Internally, I got underscore XP, but I insist on having this be called experience points. And so the reason I'm doing that distinction, I'm realizing, I hadn't really realized it until I started talking, is that this is the external interface that the clients see. And so I want it to be as clear as possible. But internally, I know XP is a good abbreviation for experience points, and so I'm comfortable doing that. And so I'm comfortable using these abbreviations in my internal code. I just want my interface, my outward-facing stuff to be clean for the end user. Yeah, the grays in the clouds, right? The grays in the clouds. Well, now I've been doing. I haven't done a ton of cloud work actually. I've been doing a lot of developer relations, and so I haven't really built a lot of cloud-based applications. And the last big application, the actual last production application I worked on was a client-side mobile app. So I did several years of client-side development before I got into developer relations, and so I haven't done a ton of cloud. It's really interesting, and I wish I had more experience in it. I mean, I've played around with it a little bit, but I haven't done anything beefy with it. XP per level equals 1,000. That was what I was in the middle of doing. And do I have that anywhere else now? What other magic numbers do I have here? Base armor class equals 10. And then const base HP per level equals 5. That goes there. Um, oh, look, we got a spammer. Yeah, what's the ban? What is it? TQK. Now, like I can type that. There we go. And sorted. This is where I need to go in and I was trying to set up Nightbot, and I thought I had it set up, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything. Nightbot's usually good at catching things like that. Thanks. So, do I have any other? I mean, I got a crit multiplier here, but I don't think I want to do that. I haven't really sorted that. I got even every other level thing that doesn't really feel sorted out yet. I think this is a good start. That's a little bit better. Let's commit that. We eliminated some magic numbers. Git push. The ban hammer, that's right. All of a sudden now I want to play Terraria. Or Terraria, however you say it. Characters have classes. As a player, I want a character to have a class that customizes its capabilities so that I can play more interesting characters. Classes that change hit points, change attack and damage, increase your critical range or damage, bonuses and penalties versus other classes, special abilities, alignment limitations. So the first one here is a sample. When we originally put this together, the idea was that we could, that we would brainstorm some ideas and then just code them up. But, ultimately we just ended up using all the samples. It's OO time. Yeah, there's a really strong temptation to use inheritance here. Don't. You will regret it. Because iteration 3 is races, which is also a good candidate for inheritance. So, as a player, I want to play a fighter so that I can kick ass and take names. Attack rolls is increased by 1 for every level instead of every other level. Has 10 hit points per level instead of 5. That doesn't sound too hard. So we need to be able to set the class. And so I think we might need a refactor here first. We've sort of got what the hero does, and then you've got classes. And so I think there's sort of an implied no class that you would have by default that would do all the things that we've just test driven, and then then you could change that to fighter or rogue or wizard or whatever. Yeah, injection of strategies is a better option. Always favor composition over inheritance, right? I might consider that. I'm going to see where this goes. Because that tends to happen. Because what happens? I have done this before, and so what happens is like attack rolls increase by 1 for every level. Rogue's attack roll stays the same. A monk attack roll increases by 1 every second and third level. And so there's sort of like an attack progression. There's so many hit points per level instead of 5. And so you can end up creating sort of... in some of these, you can actually just do kind of what we were talking about earlier with Simon was sort of data drive them, right? Where you can say, well, here's my, class data. And I'll just, calculate my hit points based off of what class I am and what my constitution is. And those all go into computing it. And so that sort of applies here, but then you got these special cases where Ignores an opponent's dexterity modifier if positive to armor class when attacking. That's a fun special rule. Adds dexterity modifier to attacks instead of strength for the rogue. That's interesting. Can't be good. Right. So all kinds of interesting things happen as a result of the classes, and so it's going to turn initially into a mess of if statements. So let's create the mess of if statements, or start creating them, and then figure out how we want to refactor them. And so I'm going to start by adding fighter, because fighter is pretty straightforward. Because if it's a fighter, attack rolls are increased by 1 for every level and 10 instead of 5. And so that's a pretty basic thing to change. So, but before we can do any of those, we need to be able to add class. And so we got name, we got alignment. Let's collapse some of these down again. So you would say that Bob is a neutral. It would say he's a Katic neutral human barbarian. So Katic neutral human barbarian. So class would go down here. Describe class. And it defaults to no class. None. We'll call it none. And we'll say expect subject.class. That's going to work. Even though I'm using a reserved word. We'll see. We'll see how that works. To be none. Let's get back to the tests over here. I expected undefined to be none. So we go back to our hero, name, get class, return none. There we go. It can be a fighter. Like that. And so we'll say subject.class equals fighter. Expect it to be fighter. So this is a really boring test. And the thing that actually surprises me is I was able to say get class and it worked. Yeah. I think you will end up with a pipeline of adjustments and modifiers from different sources, and so like I said earlier, I don't know if you all are on here or not, but I've never actually finished this kata, even though I wrote it. So I'm curious to see what sort of clean finality I can get to this. So. No, the RxJS stuff hasn't made it there yet. So set class. And say this dot underscore class equals class. I can't believe this is not complaining. It is now. I knew there was going to be a point where it would complain. There we go. Is that why it complained? It was complaining of the syntax error, right? Yeah. And then, so this is going to turn this underscore class instead of none. And then up here, say this dot underscore class is none. Okay, so that sets us up with a default value there. And this is a pattern we've done a bajillion times. A link for the GitHub repo for what I'm working on or for the exercise. Okay, I'll send you both. Here is the exercise where I'm getting the requirements from. It is a fun exercise, and I know that the rest is somewhere here on GitHub. I'll just go look. Should be at the top of my list because I just pushed to it. Stream in Evercraft. There we go. Here's the there's the one I'm currently working on, and apparently there's a vulnerability in one of my dependencies, so that's the thing. So I think what I'm going to test drive in here is this is sort of like we got a fighter, a rogue, a monk, and a paladin. I think I'm going to kind of do what I did with the alignment here. Just say you can't set it to an invalid class. So let's do that. Let's just basically do this implementation here, but for class. And here we got fighter. It can be a fighter, and that will be class. That still passes. It cannot be an invalid class. What would be an invalid class? Buffoon. That's not how you spell buffoon. That's how you spell buffoon. Is not a class. That test should fail. You're very welcome. Very welcome. And thanks for the star. Hello. Is your day about to start there, Game Pooper? So I'm going to append this test because I don't want to do it yet. Because I just want to fill in the rest of the values that can be here. It can be a fighter, it can be a rogue, it can be a monk, and it could be a paladin. I think those are the ones I picked. Okay, well, have a good day. Have fun storming the castle. The fighter, rogue, monk, paladin. Yep, those are the four I got there. And so all of those should pass. And then we can say it can't be this other thing, but of course it can. And so that then forces us to drive a test to validate that the class is correct. And that test is going to look a lot like this. And then we'll add fighter. None. We have none is on the list. Fighter, rogue, monk, and paladin. There we go. Is that how you spell paladin? Did I spell it wrong? Oh, that's how I spelled it in here, so that's the right way to spell it. English is hard, right? Is it paladin or paladin? It's just all right? So palladium? No, that's different. That'll pass. And then I'm going to go ahead and put no class or none in here as well, because that should be on the list. I would think, honestly, if I had spelled it wrong in there, someone working through this exercise would have found it and corrected it and sent me a pull request. So, because people have gone through here and done that, and it's been out for about 10 years, so there's been plenty of time for that to happen. So, okay, so now we've got a things class can be set to. And so now let's look at a fighter here. So attack rolls. So they go up by 1 for every level instead. Has 10 hit points per level instead of 5. So how do we want to do that? This file's getting really long. I'm actually thinking maybe what I should consider doing. Yeah, exactly. Enough RPG geeks were peer reviewed about reviewing it. Yeah, it's plenty of people touched it. I mean, if you look at the history here, we got who else? There's my buddy George with his shit-eating grin. I hope he watches the recording of this. There's me. There is Bjorn. He did this as a workshop. There is the late and great Jim Wyrick. And there is Chad Brubaker, who I think I worked with when I was at Pillar. He looks familiar. So several people have touched it. I do have a pending pull request from Cadmos, which I still need to merge in. But you can see the last time I touched this was 7 months ago, and that was just to add updated slides. So, but I'm looking at my hero spec here, and I feel like it needs to be broken apart a little bit, right? It's long, and so like it's a hero spec, but it's like, well, this, like the classes, the alignment, maybe we could bust those out into their own specs, or the armor class, or especially like something like the hit points where you have a lot of permutations. Those might benefit from being in their own class. Or, there's some logical groupings here, right? Like attack modifier and damage could maybe, and critical damage maybe goes in something. Experience and levels maybe goes together. Yeah, I want to bust this up a little bit. So let's try a small one and see how it works. Sound like a plan? Let's commit something. I'm going to commit it over here this time instead. Git diff. Not a big diff, but we have classes are a thing, but they don't do much. There we go. Diet plan time? Yeah, that's right. Git pish. Yeah, we're going to put this code base on this test suite on keto. It's going to lose weight. And there's my vulnerability. npm audit. Let's fix it really quick. Is that what it's supposed to do when you say npm audit? I thought that's not what I was expecting to happen. It's doing the wrong thing. npm audit fix. Let's do that. Now, Audi fix. We're not trying to fix my Audi. I wish I had an Audi. That'd be great. Come on. It's my attempt at a drum roll. Doing the thing, doing the thing. Git add dot git commit dash m appeasing dependabot. Let's try that again, but with a correct spelling. Dependabot. And amend only has one M. There we go. Yeah, I've seen the Lodash thing in a couple other repos. So it's in everything. But I fixed it. Oh well, whatever. Sort of appeased Dependabot. Regardless, I'm going to create. I'm going to do something small here. We're going to say new file and go hero alignment spec. Helps if that's a .js. Well, it's probably that the version of Jest I'm using, because Jest is the only library I have in here. I'm not using anything else. I mean, if we look at my package.json, that's it, right? So Jest is using an older version of Jest, so I'll probably have to fix it. I'll have to wait for Jest to do it. So hero alignment spec. So we're going to copy pasta a bit of this, just enough to see what this is going to look like. Bring in the hero, describe hero, subject for each. There's alignments. Okay, I want it to look like that. I could do this. Nah, I think I actually like it better this way. I mean, you're going to have hero alignment, hero this, hero that. But if I do hero dash pound alignment up here, it's just not really very readable. I can't tell what's being tested. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that's good. Yeah, that's a good. I could do that. I'm not really worried about the security violation anyhow, so it doesn't really matter for what I'm doing. I'll just wait until Jest patches it. In the meantime, it'll nag me, and I'll ignore it. It's a metaphor for life, right? So here, hero alignment spec that looks a little more manageable. It's not so massively massive. And then here we've got class. I guess we could do the same thing for class. I got armor class, hit points. I think let's do hit. What's some of the really noisy ones in here? Let's do level and experience. Yeah. New file. Hero dash. We'll just call it experience. Hero experience spec.js. Go into here, and that'll be experience and levels, because they're a related concept. We'll get our little hero bits here. Yeah, that looks nice. Yeah, the ones with big data sets, exactly. Okay. Let's look, what else we got here? Attack modifier. Let's do attack modifier. Attack damage. Critical damage. Those are all related, but I think attack modifier and damage are different enough. So, is alive, current hit points. Let's do hit points. New file, hit hero hit points spec.js. I'm going to bring is alive as well, because they're all interrelated. They feel like they belong in the same place. Everything's still passing. That's a good sign. Yeah, I think you're right, Simon. It is. This is actually a fairly complex problem, and we haven't even really gotten super deep into it yet. There's a reason I've never finished it. I don't know very many people have, honestly. And some of these, I think, could benefit from this this syntax here that I've been using. Like current hit points is pretty easy, but the is alive. Like so this sort of theory-based testing, these scenarios. Down here is alive, it's true. If you're damaged by this amount, it's still true. If you're damaged to 0, it's false. If it's damaged below 0, it's false. And so those are 4 scenarios that are making exactly the same assertion. The only difference being how much you're being damaged by. And so that might actually let's just go ahead and do it. Let's not talk about it. Let's do it. And now I'm thinking it's like, well, maybe I could do a when damaged. So this is, you know, these are just calculating your main hit points, but then your current hit points go down. But it's sort of the same permutations here, right? So let's try this. Describe when damaged. Actually, it'd be like this. It'd be one of these guys here. What damaged? Describe.each. And then get that there. So it's these 4 scenarios here. So we can go in here and say, let's get rid of the its here. So we can look at these 4 scenarios and say when you're damaged, when you're not when you're not damaged, when you're damaged, when you're damaged to death, when you're damaged beyond death. That's the 4 scenarios we have here. Yeah, do you have a link to the article? This kind of stuff's always good to read. So this is going to be the damage. And then we'll say put 0 for now. And then we got expected. And we got the hit points. And we'll say 5. And then the alive, which is true. Like that. So those are our 4 scenarios. No, I haven't come across it now. Probably a quick Google wouldn't be too hard to find it. So when undamaged, when damaged, when damaged to 0, when damaged below 0. Those were the scenarios. So damage here was do 3 points of damage, do 5 points of damage, and then do 6 points of damage. Let's make that 4. Hit points go down, hit points go down, hit points go way down, false, false. So those are our scenarios, and then we can just say, basically do these. Before each. This dot subject dot damage. Data dot damage. So that will damage the subject before each scenario, and then we say it has expected hit points. It'd be expect this dot subject dot current hit points to be data dot HP has expected. There we go. Can't type. Clown will eat me. Has expected liveliness. Damage by this by data dot damage. Wait a minute. Okay, what's it complaining about? When in damage has expected current hit points. That's a lot of failures. Cannot read property is alive of undefined. Oh, it's not this dot subject. My Jasmine's showing. There we go. They all pass. And now we can get rid of the current hit points and the is alive, because they're sort of they're being tested in this sphere of when damaged things happen. And I actually kind of like this little one-line expect here. It tidies up the test a little bit. So I'm kind of happy with that. In fact, I think I'm going to go back and look at some of the other ones I've done and see if there may be a opportunity to do that in some other places. Oh, here's one. And look at alignment. Yeah, that's another one. That could be, but I'm not going to do it that way. That one's kind of long. Yeah, here's another good one. I don't know why I didn't do this before. There we go. I'm feeling good. Here an attack spec or anything like that? Yeah, I do. Who doggy? That one's a little long. We're not going to do that one. There we go. And let's look at ability. Oh, the default we can do it with at least here. Yeah, it's getting better. Slowly getting there. Well, I think that's probably where I'm going to call it for tonight. I've been at this for a little over 2 hours. Yeah, you should get some sleep. You know what? I'm going to do something similar. So, thanks everyone for hanging out with me tonight. Let me go ahead and commit this code really quick, and then let's pick a raid target. I need to create that get wrecked alias, which just does a add dot commit with a get wrecked message. Thanks for saying it was fun. I really appreciate that. So, and if you're not following me, give me a follow. That's always helps me out. The more people I have, the more people I have, right? So, and we got 3 viewers right now. So I don't know if a raid's really worth the hassle, but we'll go ahead and click and see if there's anyone raiding. Not really. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna call it. Whoa. Hey, Brandonius, have you been here the whole time? I was just getting ready to leave. Have you? Yeah, you should know this kata, right? You should be doing it with me. That's what we should be doing, Brendan. Although, actually, it's better that we're not, because you're getting a chance to go through it yourself and discover things. And if we were doing it together, my foreknowledge would influence it unduly. So, just got here. Well, I was just going to wrap up here. It's a little after 9. I'm thinking I need a snack and some meds and a nap. So, but I was just refactoring my tests to make them a little cleaner. So I guess I could stick around a little bit longer for you if you like. Yeah, I don't know. I'm tired. It's Monday night. It's 9 p.m. I'm going to call it. So you can always watch the rerun if you want to watch me in a less than interactive way. I will tell you now that working through this, it's a big exercise, and it would be many streams worth of content for you. And I think it's going to be for me as well. But it's been fun working on it again. And I'll also let you know that I've never finished it, which is almost embarrassing. But given that I've had 10 years to finish this kata, but it's a big problem, and it gets hairy when you start adding races into it, because you start getting all these weird permutations, all these weird rules. And so you have fun with the Evercraft Kata, Brendan, and I will have fun with the Evercraft Kata as well. And again, thanks everyone for joining me tonight. And if you want to, if you're not following me already, give me a follow. And You know, that's the only thing I'm trying to do right now is grow my followers. So that's the only thing I'm asking of anyone. So with that, I bid you adieu. Bye.